Deep within the heart of a tranquil moonlit forest, there lived a young owl named Oliver. His feathers were the color of freshly fallen snow, and his round golden eyes sparkled like tiny lanterns in the dark. Oliver had always been an unusual owl. While most of his friends enjoyed swooping silently through the trees or hunting for tasty treats, Oliver could usually be found perched on the highest branch of the oldest oak tree in the forest, his beak buried in a book. Oliver loved stories. He loved the way they whisked him away to distant lands, introduced him to brave heroes and cunning villains, and filled his nights with wonder and imagination. He kept a tidy nest stuffed with books of every kind, tales of daring adventures, legends of forgotten kingdoms, and even recipes for the fluffiest mouse pancakes. But there was one thing about stories that puzzled Oliver. Where do they come from? He often wondered aloud, his voice echoing softly through the forest. Who writes them? And how do they travel so far? One particular night, as the full moon hung low and bright in the sky, Oliver settled into his favorite branch with a new storybook. The cover gleamed silver in the moonlight, its title embossed in swirling letters, The Star Weaver's Tale. But just as Oliver was about to turn the first page, something extraordinary happened. A soft, silvery glow began to shimmer around the edges of the book. At first, Oliver thought it was a trick of the moonlight, but as he blinked in surprise, the glow grew brighter, and the letters on the cover began to shift and swirl. What's going on?" Oliver hooted, clutching the book tightly. Before he could make sense of it, a gentle breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the faintest whisper. "Come and see, Oliver," the voice said, as soft and cool as the night air. "The moon holds the answers you seek." Oliver's heart fluttered with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "The moon?" he repeated, looking up at its silvery surface. The idea seemed impossible. How could he, a small owl, travel to the moon? As if in answer, a path of glowing light appeared before him, stretching from his branch and winding through the forest. The light sparkled like stardust, and the breeze seemed to nudge him gently forward. "Come," the whisper urged again. With a deep breath and a determined flutter of his wings, Oliver hopped onto the glowing path. It felt soft and cool beneath his talons, as though he were walking on a river of moonlight. The path led him past sleepy trees and murmuring brooks, deeper and deeper into the forest until he reached a small clearing. In the center of the clearing stood something truly magnificent, a spiral staircase made entirely of light, each step twinkling like a captured star. It rose high into the sky, disappearing into the clouds that surrounded the glowing moon. Oliver hesitated for only a moment. His curiosity had always been stronger than his fear, and this was no time to turn back. With a determined hoot, he spread his wings and began to ascend the staircase. Each step felt weightless beneath him, and as he climbed higher and higher, the forest below grew smaller and smaller. The air became cool and crisp, filled with the faint scent of night blossoms. Stars twinkled around him like tiny companions, their light soft and comforting. Oliver didn't know how long he climbed, but he wasn't tired. Instead, he felt a growing sense of wonder, as though he were on the brink of discovering something truly magical. Finally, as the staircase reached its end, Oliver stepped onto a vast, glowing plateau. Before him stood an enormous set of double doors, carved from what looked like moonstone. Intricate designs of stars, constellations, and swirling galaxies adorned their surface, shimmering faintly in the pale light. Oliver took a deep breath, his heart pounding with anticipation. The doors were slightly ajar, and from within came a warm golden light. Along with it drifted the faintest sound of whispers, gentle, melodious, and inviting. "Welcome, Oliver," came the soft voice from before, now clearer and closer. "You've arrived at the secret library of the moon." Oliver's eyes widened, and a thrill of excitement coursed through him. With a steadying flap of his wings, he pushed the doors open and stepped inside. As the doors to the secret library of the moon swung open, Oliver's golden eyes widened with awe. The library was unlike anything he had ever imagined. Endless shelves made of shimmering silver spiraled upward, stretching high into the glowing domed ceiling. The books themselves were extraordinary, their covers glimmering in every color imaginable. Some had titles written in starlight, others in swirling galaxies, and some in languages that seemed to hum with quiet magic. Floating orbs of golden light drifted lazily through the air, illuminating the library with a warm, inviting glow. The air was filled with the faint rustle of pages turning, the occasional flutter of wings, and soft whispers that seemed to come from the books themselves. "Welcome to the secret library of the moon, Oliver," the same soft voice from before greeted him. Oliver turned to see a figure emerging from behind one of the glowing shelves. It was a tall, elegant creature, part owl and part lunar moth, with silver feathers that shimmered like moonlight and delicate, iridescent wings. Her eyes were wise and kind, a deep, starry black that seemed to hold the universe itself. She wore a long robe that appeared to be woven from threads of light. "I am Lumina, the librarian of this place," she said, her voice soft and melodious. "This is a sanctuary for stories, a repository of every tale ever told, whispered or imagined, by creatures across the universe." Oliver's beak dropped open. "Every story?" he repeated, his voice filled with wonder. Lumina nodded. "Every story," she said. "From the grandest epics to the simplest bedtime tales. They all find a home here. This library is a living, breathing collection of the world's imagination." Oliver's heart fluttered with excitement. He had so many questions. How did the library collect its stories? Who wrote them? How did they reach the moon? But before he could ask, Lumina gestured for him to follow her. "There's much to see," she said, her wings brushing softly against the shelves as she glided ahead. As they walked, Oliver noticed something unusual. While many of the shelves were bursting with books, others were nearly empty, with only a handful of volumes resting on their gleaming surfaces. "What happened here?" he asked, pointing to one of the nearly empty shelves. Lumina's expression grew somber. "Not all stories are remembered, Oliver," she explained. "Some are forgotten, left untold, or dismissed as unimportant. When that happens, they fade from the minds of those who once cherished them, and from the library." Oliver felt a pang of sadness. The idea of a story being forgotten seemed unbearable to him. Every tale deserved to be told, remembered, and shared. "But how can we save them?" he asked urgently. Lumina smiled gently. "That, dear Oliver, is why you are here." Oliver blinked in surprise. "Me?" "Yes," Lumina said, her voice tinged with both kindness and urgency. "The library is in need of a guardian, someone to ensure that stories are never lost, that they are shared and celebrated. It is a great responsibility, but I believe you are the one for the task." Oliver's heart raced. The thought of being a guardian of stories filled him with excitement, but also with doubt. "But I'm just a little owl," he said hesitantly. "How can I possibly do something so important?" Lumina extended a wing and gently touched his shoulder. "You have a gift, Oliver," she said. Your love for stories, your curiosity, and your determination make you uniquely suited for this role. But you won't be alone. The library will guide you, and I will help you every step of the way. Before Oliver could respond, the library seemed to shift around him. The shelves rearranged themselves, forming a wide, open space in the center of the room. A glowing pedestal rose from the floor, and on it rested a single, radiant book. Its cover sparkled like the night sky, and its title appeared to change with every blink of Oliver's eyes. "What's that?" Oliver asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "That," Lumina said, "is the Codex of Stories. It contains the essence of every tale in this library. It is powerful but fragile. If too many stories are forgotten, the Codex will weaken and the library itself may fade away." Oliver's eyes widened in alarm. "We have to save it," he exclaimed. Lumina nodded. "We do," she said. "But to do so, we must first uncover the lost stories and share them with the world. That is your first task, Oliver." The young owl took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside him. "How do I begin?" he asked, his voice filled with determination. Lumina's eyes sparkled. "By listening," she said simply. She led him to a quiet alcove where a large crescent-shaped table stood. On the table lay an array of objects. An ancient quill that glowed faintly, a small crystal orb, and a scroll that seemed to shimmer with hidden text. "These tools will help you," Lumina explained. "The quill can write the words of forgotten stories, even those lost to time. The orb will reveal fragments of tales hidden in the memories of the world, and the scroll will guide you, showing you where to find the stories that need to be saved." Oliver stared at the tools, a mix of excitement and nervousness bubbling within him. "And what about the forgotten stories?" he asked. "How will I find them?" Lumina smiled. "The library will guide you," she said. "It will show you glimpses of the stories that are fading, and it will be up to you to bring them back to life. But beware, Oliver, the task will not be without challenges. Some stories are hidden in the farthest corners of the world, guarded by time, doubt, or even fear." Oliver nodded, his resolve growing stronger. He didn't know exactly how he would accomplish this monumental task, but he knew one thing for certain. He couldn't bear the thought of a story being forgotten. "Then I'll do it," he said, standing tall. "I'll save the stories." Lumina's face lit up with pride. "I knew you would," she said. "Your journey begins now." As she spoke, the scroll on the table began to unroll itself. Symbols and images appeared on its surface, swirling together to form a map. Oliver leaned closer, his eyes scanning the glowing lines and dots. The map seemed to depict places he had never seen before, mountains that glimmered like glass, oceans that shimmered with hidden light, and forests that whispered secrets on the wind. "This is your guide," Lumina said. "Follow it, and it will lead you to the stories that need saving." Oliver took a deep breath and picked up the scroll, the quill, and the orb. They felt light in his talons, yet filled with a sense of purpose. "I'm ready," he said, looking up at Lumina. The librarian's wings fluttered softly. "Then go, Oliver," she said, "and remember, every story matters." With those words ringing in his ears, Oliver stepped back through the great doors of the library, the tools of his mission in tow. Above him, the moon shone brightly, as if lighting his way. His journey had begun. Oliver's wings flapped steadily as he soared through the night sky, the glowing scroll clutched tightly in his talons. Below him, The world stretched out in a patchwork of silver rivers, dark forests, and sparkling lakes. The map on the scroll shimmered faintly, guiding him to his first destination, the Forest of Whispers. The forest was said to be enchanted, a place where the wind carried secrets and the trees spoke in hushed tones. As Oliver descended through the canopy, he felt an eerie calm settle around him. The air was thick with the scent of pine and moss, and the faint rustle of leaves seemed almost like whispers. He landed softly on the forest floor, his golden eyes scanning the surroundings for signs of the forgotten story. The scroll in his talons began to glow faintly, its lines shifting to form new symbols. They pointed toward a towering tree at the heart of the forest. Its bark was pale and smooth, and its branches spread out like arms reaching for the stars. As Oliver approached, he noticed carvings etched into the trunk, tiny, intricate symbols that glowed faintly in the moonlight. "This must be it," Oliver murmured to himself. He reached out with his quill, touching the tip to the carvings. As he did, the quill began to glow, and the symbols unraveled like threads, weaving themselves into a shimmering golden story. The voice that emerged from the tree was soft and melodic, like a lullaby carried on the wind. "Long ago," it began, "there was a woodcutter named Ilara who lived at the edge of this forest. She was kind and brave, and she spent her days helping the creatures of the woods. But one day, she stumbled upon a mysterious grove where the trees whispered secrets. Afraid of what she might hear, she fled, leaving the story of the grove untold." Oliver listened intently, his quill recording every word. The tale seemed to weave itself into the fabric of the scroll, the golden light brightening with each new detail. As the story concluded, the tree's voice faded, and the forest seemed to exhale, as if relieved to have its secret shared at last. "Thank you," Oliver said softly, bowing to the tree. He tucked the scroll back into his satchel and took off into the sky, his heart swelling with the satisfaction of saving his first story. The scroll guided him next to the crystal caverns, a labyrinth of glittering tunnels hidden deep beneath the mountains. The entrance was guarded by a shimmering waterfall that cascaded into a pool of liquid light. Oliver hesitated for a moment, marveling at the beauty of the place, before diving through the waterfall and into the caverns. Inside, the air was cool and tinged with the scent of minerals. Crystals of all shapes and sizes jutted from the walls, their surfaces catching and refracting the faint light that seeped in from above. The scroll began to glow again, directing Oliver deeper into the labyrinth. As he ventured further, he heard a soft humming, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the very walls of the cave. Following the sound, he found himself in a vast chamber where a single crystal, larger than any he had seen before, stood in the center. Its surface was smooth and reflective, and as Oliver approached, he saw his own reflection staring back at him. "Who comes seeking the forgotten?" A voice resonated from the crystal, deep and resonant like the tolling of a bell. "I am Oliver," he replied. "I've come to save the stories that have been lost." The crystal pulsed with light, and the voice softened. "Very well, young owl. Listen closely." The chamber filled with light, and a vision appeared within the crystal's surface. It was the story of a miner named Calum, who had once discovered the caverns. Calum had been searching for treasure, but had found something far more valuable, a crystal that sang songs of hope and unity. Fearing that others would exploit the cavern's beauty, he had hidden it away, leaving his story untold. As the vision faded, Oliver's quill danced across the scroll, capturing the tale in its entirety. When the last word was written, the crystal hummed with approval, and a sense of peace settled over the cavern. "Thank you," Oliver said, his voice echoing softly in the chamber. He spread his wings and took flight once more, leaving the caverns behind. Oliver's next destination was the Ocean of Echoes, a vast expanse of shimmering blue that seemed to stretch to infinity. The scroll directed him to a lone island at its center, a small patch of sand surrounded by sparkling waves. As Oliver approached, he noticed something unusual. The waves seemed to sing, their melody hauntingly beautiful. The island was home to a single figure, a siren with hair like sea foam and eyes as deep as the ocean. She sat on a rock, strumming a harp made of seashells and pearls. When she saw Oliver, she smiled, though there was sadness in her eyes. "Welcome, little owl," she said, her voice as melodic as the waves. "What brings you to the Ocean of Echoes?" "I'm searching for forgotten stories," Oliver replied. "The Library of the Moon sent me." The siren's expression softened. "Then you've come to the right place," she said. "There is a story here that has long been forgotten. It is the tale of a sailor named Orion who once braved these waters in search of the mythical Isle of Stars. He faced storms and sea monsters, but his greatest challenge was the loneliness of the open sea. In the end, he found the Isle of Stars, but he chose to keep its location a secret, leaving his story untold. As she spoke, the waves seemed to rise and fall in time with her words, their melody weaving itself into the tale. Oliver's quill captured every detail, the scroll glowing brighter with each line. When the story was complete, the siren smiled, her sadness replaced by a quiet joy. "Thank you, Oliver," she said. "Nay, see. You've given Orion's story a home." Oliver nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment as he took to the skies once more. By the time Oliver returned to the secret library of the moon, his scroll was filled with stories from every corner of the world. Lumina greeted him at the entrance, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You've done well, Oliver," she said. "The library is stronger because of you." Oliver's heart swelled with pride, but he knew his journey was far from over. There were still countless stories waiting to be found, and he was determined to save them all. Oliver soared through the night sky, his heart beating with anticipation as the scroll's glow intensified. The map now pointed to the moon itself, its soft silver light bathing the world below. He had ventured to the forest of whispers, the crystal caverns, and the ocean of echoes, collecting stories that had been forgotten. Now, the final and most crucial tale awaited him, a story hidden within the secret library of the moon. The moon's surface seemed impossibly close as Oliver ascended. Its glowing brilliance enveloped him, and he felt a strange sense of weightlessness as he approached. The scroll's light grew so bright, it was almost blinding, guiding him to a shimmering gateway etched into the lunar surface. The archway was adorned with intricate carvings of stars, planets, and constellations that seemed to twinkle as Oliver drew nearer. "This is it," Oliver whispered, clutching the scroll tightly. "The secret library of the moon." The gateway opened soundlessly as Oliver stepped through, revealing a breathtaking sight. Shelves carved from moonstone stretched endlessly, curving and spiraling like the galaxies themselves. They were filled with glowing books, scrolls, and artifacts that radiated soft light, creating a tapestry of shimmering colors. The air was cool and still, and the only sound was the faint rustling of pages, as though the library was alive with the whispers of stories. At the center of the library stood Lumina, the magical librarian who had sent him on his journey. Her silver robes glimmered like starlight, and her eyes held a warmth that made Oliver feel instantly at ease. "Welcome back, Oliver," Lumina said, her voice soft but resonant. You've done well to reach this point. The library is grateful for the stories you've saved." Oliver's chest swelled with pride, but he could sense there was more to come. "Lumina?" he asked. "Why did you call me here?" "What is the final story?" Lumina's expression grew serious, and she gestured for him to follow. She led him through the labyrinth of shelves, the glowing books lighting their path. At last they reached a secluded alcove where a single pedestal stood, its surface empty. "This," Lumina began, "is where the final story belongs. It is the story of the moon itself, a tale that has never been told." Oliver blinked in surprise. "The moon has a story?" Lumina nodded. "Indeed, it does, but its story is incomplete. To uncover it, you must seek the moon's heart." The mention of the moon's heart sent a shiver down Oliver's feathers. Lumina explained that the moon's heart was a legendary artifact, hidden within the depths of the library. It was said to hold the essence of the moon's story, but no one had seen it for centuries. "Many have tried to find the moon's heart," Lumina said, her tone grave. "But the path is fraught with challenges, and the library itself will test your resolve." Oliver squared his wings, determination shining in his golden eyes. "I'll do it. I'll find the moon's heart." Lumina smiled softly. "I believe you will, Oliver. Remember, every story deserves to be shared, even the moon's." Oliver set off through the library, the scroll in his satchel glowing faintly to guide him. As he ventured deeper, the shelves grew taller and the light dimmer. The air seemed to hum with energy, and Oliver felt as though he were being watched. He paused at an intersection, his instincts urging him to take the path to the left. Suddenly, the ground beneath him began to shift. The shelves rearranged themselves, creating a labyrinth that trapped him in its ever-changing walls. Oliver's heart raced as he flapped his wings to stay aloft, trying to make sense of the maze. "Stay calm," he told himself, remembering Lumina's words. "The library is testing me." He noticed that the scroll's glow had grown brighter, its light pointing to a faint shimmer in the distance. Summoning his courage, Oliver darted through the twisting corridors, dodging collapsing shelves and swirling streams of glowing dust. The library seemed to whisper to him, its words indistinct but urgent. At last he reached the shimmer, which resolved into a hidden alcove. Inside was a small glowing orb that pulsed with silver light. As Oliver touched it, the maze dissolved, and the library fell silent once more. "You've passed the first test," a voice echoed, though Oliver couldn't tell where it came from. "But the journey is not yet over." The next challenge led Oliver to a vast chamber filled with floating books and glowing stars. In the center of the chamber stood a great celestial mirror, its surface rippling like water. Oliver approached cautiously, his reflection shimmering in the mirror's depths. "To find the moon's heart," the voice said, "you must confront your deepest fear." The mirror's surface began to change, showing Oliver a vision of himself alone in an empty forest. The trees were lifeless, and the sky was dark. His beloved books were scattered, their pages blank, and their words erased. "No!" Oliver cried, his heart aching at the sight. Stories can't just disappear. They deserve to be remembered. The vision faded and the mirror rippled again, showing a new image. This time, it was Oliver, surrounded by glowing books and scrolls, their light filling the forest with warmth and life. "Do you understand now?" the voice asked. "The power of stories lies not just in their words, but in their ability to connect and inspire." Oliver nodded, tears shining in his eyes. "I understand. I'll protect every story I can." The mirror glowed brightly and a hidden passage opened behind it. The final chamber was unlike anything Oliver had ever seen. The walls were adorned with constellations that moved and shifted, and in the center of the room floated a brilliant crystal shaped like a heart. Its light was blinding, and it pulsed with a rhythm that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the moon itself. Oliver approached the moon's heart reverently, his wings trembling. As he reached out to touch it, the crystal's light enveloped him, and a flood of images filled his mind. He saw the moon's story unfold, the birth of its silvery glow, its watchful gaze over the earth, and the countless lives it had touched with its gentle light. The final image was of the moon's library, a sanctuary for every story ever told, and Oliver realized its true purpose. The library was not just a place to store stories, but a beacon to remind the world of the power of sharing knowledge and imagination. When the vision ended, Oliver found himself back in the alcove with Lumina. The moon's heart floated above the pedestal, its light casting a warm glow over the room. "You've done it, Oliver," Lumina said, her voice filled with pride. "The moon's story is complete, and you've proven that every story has the power to inspire." Oliver felt a surge of joy and fulfillment as he watched the moon's heart settle onto the pedestal. The library seemed to hum with contentment, its shelves glowing brighter than ever. As Lumina led him back to the library's entrance, Oliver knew that his journey was far from over. There were still stories waiting to be saved, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Oliver stood at the entrance to the secret library of the moon, the soft glow of the moon's heart illuminating the way behind him. His feathers were ruffled from the journey, but his golden eyes sparkled with a newfound clarity. The moon's silvery light bathed the world below, and, for the first time, he felt like he truly understood its gentle power. Lumina appeared beside him, her silvery robes shimmering like rippling water under the light. She gave him a warm smile, her gaze filled with pride. "Oliver," she said softly, "your journey has not only completed the moon's story, but has also reminded the library of its purpose. Stories are not meant to be locked away. They are meant to be shared." Oliver nodded, clutching the glowing scroll in his talon. "I've learned so much, Lumina. Each story I found was like a piece of a puzzle, and together they've shown me how stories connect us, guide us, and keep us dreaming." As they stepped out of the library, the shimmering gateway behind them began to close, the intricate carvings blending back into the moon's surface. Oliver felt a pang of sadness, knowing he might not return here for a long time. But the stories he carried within him made the departure feel less like a goodbye and more like the beginning of something new. Before he could spread his wings to leave, Lumina held out a small, glowing charm shaped like a crescent moon. "Take this," she said. "It's a token of your bond with the library. It will guide you back here whenever you feel the world is ready for another story." Oliver accepted the charm, its warmth filling him with reassurance. He tucked it into his satchel alongside the scroll, knowing it was a piece of the library he could always carry with him. As he flew back to Earth, the night seemed more vibrant than ever before. The stars twinkled with newfound brilliance as if celebrating his success. The scroll, now brimming with the moon's completed story, glowed faintly in his satchel, casting a soft light over the treetops below. When he reached the familiar edge of the Forest of Whispers, the first rays of dawn were beginning to streak across the sky. Oliver felt a pang of exhaustion from his adventure, but also a deep sense of peace. He swooped low over the trees, his heart swelling at the sight of his homecoming. The forest animals were beginning to stir, their sleepy movements creating a gentle hum of life. As Oliver landed near his favorite oak tree, he was greeted by his friends, a curious squirrel, a sleepy fox, and a pair of chirping sparrows. They gathered around him, their eyes wide with anticipation. "Oliver," the squirrel chittered, "where have you been? We've missed you." The fox yawned, stretching lazily. "You look like you've had quite the adventure. What happened?" Oliver smiled, his feathers fluffing with excitement. "I have so much to tell you," he said. "I've been to the secret library of the moon and I've learned the most incredible things." As the forest animals settled in a cozy circle, Oliver began to recount his journey. He described the hidden stories he had found in the Forest of Whispers, the crystal caverns, and the ocean of echoes. He spoke of the challenges he faced in the library's labyrinth and the magical creatures he met, like Lyra, the musical eagle, and Pegasus, the constellation horse. His friends listened intently, their eyes growing wide at his descriptions of glowing books, swirling constellations, and the discovery of the moon's heart. The sparrows chirped excitedly, and even the fox, usually so aloof, leaned in closer. "And do you know what I learned?" Oliver said, his voice filled with wonder. "Every story matters. They might come from faraway places or be hidden deep inside us, but each one has the power to inspire and bring us together." As the morning sun rose higher, more animals gathered around to listen. Oliver felt a surge of pride and joy as he shared the moon's completed story. It was a tale of unity and wonder, of how the moon had watched over the earth for centuries, collecting the dreams and stories of those below. It reminded everyone of the magic that lived in their own hearts and the importance of sharing it with the world. When Oliver finished, the forest was silent for a moment. Then, a soft round of applause spread through the crowd, clapping paws, chirping, beaks, and even the rustling of leaves from the trees themselves. "That's the best story I've ever heard," said the squirrel, her tail twitching with excitement. "You have to tell it again tonight so everyone can hear it." Oliver chuckled, his chest swelling with warmth. "I'll tell it as many times as it takes," he said. "Stories like this deserve to be shared." As the day went on, Oliver felt a sense of contentment he hadn't known before. The forest seemed brighter, the animals more connected. It was as though the stories he had brought back had woven a thread of magic through the community, reminding everyone of the beauty in their own tales. That evening, as the stars began to twinkle once more, Oliver perched on a high branch overlooking the forest. The scroll glowed faintly in his satchel, and the crescent moon charm dangled from his neck, catching the moonlight. Lumina's words echoed in his mind. "Stories are not meant to be locked away, they are meant to be shared." He turned his gaze to the moon, its silvery light soft and steady. A smile spread across his beak as he whispered, "Nah, thank you, Lumina. Thank you for reminding me of what truly matters." As he looked down at the forest below, Oliver felt a newfound purpose. He would continue his journeys, seeking out stories from every corner of the world. He would protect them, share them, and ensure that no tale was ever forgotten. And as he drifted into a peaceful sleep, the moon shone brighter than ever, a quiet guardian of dreams and stories, watching over the world below. The secret library of the moon had left Oliver with a heart full of stories and a mind brimming with wonder. As he nestled into his soft nest that evening, the glowing crescent moon outside his window seemed to whisper a lullaby to the forest. Tonight, it wasn't just Oliver who carried the magic of stories. Every listener who heard his tale could feel the moon's serene light enveloping them like a comforting embrace. Now it's time to let your own mind drift away into a world of dreams. Close your eyes and let the gentle rhythm of your breath guide you to a place of peace, just like Oliver found on his journey. Take a deep breath in and gently let it out. Feel how your body begins to relax, like a soft feather settling on the breeze. With each breath, let yourself become lighter, as though you're being cradled by a soft, glowing cloud. Imagine the cozy warmth of a nest, just like Oliver's. The soft feathers beneath you cushion your body perfectly, and the gentle rustle of leaves overhead creates a soothing melody. You are safe, you are warm, and you are loved. Breathe in deeply and out slowly. Feel how your chest rises and falls, steady like the gentle sway of the trees in a calm forest. The world around you grows quieter, and the peaceful stillness invites you to let go of any worries from the day. Now, picture a soft, glowing light surrounding you. A warm, golden glow that feels like a gentle hug from the universe. This light lifts you gently, carrying you higher and higher, as if you are a little bird spreading your wings for the first time. As you rise, you can see the world below you. Quiet forests, shimmering rivers, and the soft twinkle of distant stars. The higher you go, the lighter you feel. There is no rush, just a calm, peaceful ascent, like floating on a whispering breeze. Up ahead, the moon begins to grow larger. Its silvery glow is welcoming and kind, and you can feel its quiet strength guiding you forward. You realize that you are traveling to a magical place, the secret library of the moon. As you approach, the library's doors open softly, inviting you inside. The warm glow of the moonlight spills into the vast halls, where shelves upon shelves of shimmering books stretch as far as the eye can see. The air is filled with a calming hum, like the quiet song of the stars. You walk slowly, your footsteps light and quiet. The books on the shelves seem to sparkle with their own magic, each one holding a story from a far-away place or a long-forgotten time. The stories feel alive, like they are waiting to share their secrets with you. Reach out and gently touch one of the books. As you open it, glowing words dance across the pages, painting pictures in your mind. Perhaps it's a tale of a brave adventurer, a mysterious treasure, or a magical forest where dreams come alive. Whatever it is, this story feels like it was meant just for you. Let yourself imagine the scenes unfolding, as though you are stepping into the story. You can hear the sounds, feel the textures, and even smell the scents of this magical world. You are part of the story now, and it welcomes you with open arms. As you explore the library, you hear a soft, soothing voice. It is Lumina, the magical librarian, her presence as comforting as a warm blanket on a cold night. Her voice fills the library, wrapping you in calm and reassurance. She begins to share affirmations with you, gentle reminders of your strength, your worth, and your limitless imagination. Repeat these silently in your mind as you listen. I am safe, and I'm surrounded by peace. My imagination is powerful, and it brings me joy. I'm filled with wonder and curiosity. I let go of worries and embrace calm. I am loved, just as I am. As you say these affirmations to yourself, you feel them settle deep in your heart, like seeds being planted in rich, fertile soil. Each one is a tiny light, glowing softly and growing stronger with every breath. Now, step back outside the library and look up at the night sky. The stars above are twinkling brightly, and their light seems to carry a melody, a gentle lullaby, just for you. Close your eyes and listen. Imagine each star singing a note, their voices blending together to create the most soothing song you've ever heard. It's a song of rest, of peace, and of dreams waiting to unfold. The stars sing to you, reminding you that you are part of something vast and beautiful. As the melody continues, you feel the moonlight wrapping around you like a soft blanket. It holds you gently, easing away any last bits of tension. You are weightless, floating on the lullaby of the stars. It's time now to let yourself drift fully into sleep. Imagine that the soft glow of the moon is carrying you back down to your cozy bed. The warmth of your blanket surrounds you, and the gentle rhythm of your breath is like the whisper of the wind through the trees. As you lie there, safe and warm, let your mind wander. Perhaps you'll dream of the secret library of the moon, of stories waiting to be discovered and shared. Or perhaps your dreams will take you somewhere entirely new, a magical place that is uniquely yours. Wherever your dreams lead, know that you are surrounded by peace, by warmth, and by love. The moon watches over you, a quiet guardian of your rest. Before you drift off completely, let these final affirmations guide you into a deep, restful sleep. Repeat them in your mind or simply let them wash over you like a gentle wave. I am calm. I am safe. I am loved. My dreams are filled with wonder and light. I let go of today and welcome the peace of sleep. I am ready to rest, to recharge, and to wake with joy. Feel your body grow heavier, your breaths grow slower, and your mind grow quieter. Sleep is here, gentle and kind, cradling you like the softest cloud. As you drift into the land of dreams, know that you carry the magic of stories within you. The moon's light will always guide you, and its library will always be there, waiting for you to return. Good night, little dreamer. Sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with wonder. Twilight